We do have our third speaker today, Angel Larena, District 100 Director. Angel is going to talk about mentoring, the key to connection and connectivity. Angel, floor is yours.
Thank you, Manga, and thank you, Aletta. It's wonderful coming after the international president because then I don't have to worry about trying to um, mess up anything she's going to say. And what she was saying actually played right into what I'm going to do because right as I joined y'all, we're talking about how can clubs strengthen like the challenges clubs are facing. And I think, and I put it in the chat, and I'm going to start with that. I think that in my time as a district leader watching things, I found that there's a common thread in a lot of our struggle. A common thread of club growth, a common thread with getting leaders, a common thread with keeping people involved. We're afraid to communicate and talk to people we don't know. And Amanga's laughing right now because I've told her this many times. As a team, one of the hardest challenges to get across is being more comfortable talking to people you don't know. And that is very true when it comes to mentoring. Sometimes when you take on a mentor journey or you start this process, you don't know the person that you're going to be working with. Sometimes, and I share this story because sometimes you meet the person and you're just like, I want to work with them. I have no idea who they are internally, but I want to work with them. And then you find out more about them and you just keep getting engrossed. Now, the reason for this is that people stay in Toastmasters not only because they're happy, not only because they're getting things out of it, because of the connections they're making. If you go, like Aletta said, if you go to international convention and you talk to people from all over the world, a lot of them will give some variation of why they're still a Toastmaster. It could be because they're joining this, they're growing in here, they've started for this and changed to this. But one thing most of them say in conjunction with that is that they stay because of the friends, the connections, and the network they have from this organization. It's not just within your club. You could be, what's funny is a PQD from District 12, Sarah Kearney, was recently traveling to New Zealand. And I said, do you know that they have a lot of Toastmasters there and that if you wanted, I bet any of them would show you around? It's an unspoken connection that immediately brings recognition no matter where you go. I could go to Japan and I guarantee you I know people there in Toastmasters that could show me around and help guide me. I could go to other parts of the world and have the same effect. I could go to the UK. I have friends there that I know would guide me around. So whenever you get involved, you're creating these connections. And over time, like I joined because I needed to learn how to better talk to corporate people. I was told to go tell them to do their job, but I literally told them that and didn't know that that was wrong. So I needed to learn some of the social niceties. But over time, as I progressed and evolved and took on district leadership, things like that, what I needed from the program evolved. And that would be and will be how everyone's journey is. It evolves over time because you do. You're not the same as you were a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. So when we talk about developing a mentorship program in your club and why that's important, I want to stress the fact that it's not just about having them complete a pathways project. It's not about taking them through level 2. These are goals and they're very lovely goals. they may have the goal of being a champion speaker, right? And that could be your mentor journey. But the reason or the deeper meaning behind being a mentor is that you start developing the connection, the emotional ties, and the loyalty and the feeling of belonging within the club. So I'm gonna share a story really quick. I'm like cyber person, like I work in tech, so like I met Karen Lucas, so some of you know her, some of you may not. I met Karen Lucas when she ran for, I think, international director. I seen her in an interview. And I said, ooh, that was nice. I want to know more about her, right? So what happened was is I found out what club she was in. It's pretty easy. They list it and you just go to social media, you go to Facebook and say, hey, I want to look up this person. Where is she, like what club is she in? And so I went and visited her club because I was like, I really want to know what she's doing and what she's learning to be at the level and what drew me to her, right? And I got to know her and I met her that one time in her club meeting and I just knew. I like told myself and then I told her in another meeting subsequently that I want you to be my mentor. I told her very directly like that. I want you. And she spoke to me. She what she did, the way she spoke, how she presented herself spoke to what I wanted to be in multiple different areas. And this story has a point, by the way, about why it matters to stay. When I was done being division director, I had no intention of running for club growth director. I had I had my own personal journey and things like that that was going on, and I just said it wasn't the time. But I sat down with Karen and Mark, her husband, and I talked to them and told them, and they're like, "Well, why don't you just try?" They walked me through it. They went over what it entailed. They talked. And so I said, okay, let's do this. Let's try. And every step of the way, even now being district director, they have supported me in multiple areas, not just being a district leader. I talked to Karen about life. I talked to her about everything going on, right? But the reason I'm here today, the reason I am still as active and involved is because of connections like that. It's because of the people I meet. It's because of Umanga, Katie, Patrick, and others. Charla, Bob's on here. A few of you that I know, right? It's all these little, like I say little as in like in the larger scale of the connection. It's a dot, right? It's a dot in your path. But everything together, the network, the map, that is what creates the bond for people with the program, with the club. And so, whenever you create that community, whenever you create that connection, that's what keeps people. And that's why mentorship programs are so helpful. So, if Umanga, I'm going to use you as an example because I think it's fun. And Katie, I'm going to pull on you too, because why not? So, let's say Katie is the VP of membership for her club or the president, any club officer, right? Because anyone can do it. And let's say Umanga is a guest joining. Now, Umanga visits the club, and I'm gonna pick on Charla for a minute, and I'm gonna say that Charla's in this club, and Charla gave a speech that day. And I'm gonna do similar, right? But Umanga seen Charla speaking, and Umanga's like, "Oh, dang, I want to get to know her. She seems amazing." And so, guess what? Even though Umanga is there to better her own self and better her skills, what pushed her over the line and helped her to join is the fact that, she wants to learn from Charlotte. She wants to be connected to that. And that's okay for that to happen. Because in that time, Umanga's gonna meet other people. Umanga's gonna get inspiration from other places too. But whenever Katie, as a club officer, welcomes Umanga to the club, one of the first things we should do is a membership profile, and this could be different in every club. But you should ask simple questions as like, hey, what made you join? What inspired you to become a member here? Because there's two reasons for that. You want to know, number one, what their goal is. You can't help anyone without knowing what their intention is. If people just took me at face value when I joined the first time in India back in 2020, people would have like thrown me into championships and contests, and I would have totally like been okay, but not anywhere near where I am now. But they asked me what did I want, and I told them I needed to learn those skills. And Umanga is going to share that. But one thing that you're also looking for is, was there a personal reason? Like, was there that connection between Umanga and Charla that caused Umanga to join? And the reason for this is because if a person joins because they were inspired by someone, because they were felt connected to them, that is also a very easy mentor parent. So Katie, as the club officer, would want to say, well, Umanga, what made you join? The Umanga's go like, well, I have like kids and they're finally growing up and I'm trying to get back in the job market, so I'm learning interview skills, things like this. Yeah, I'm totally referencing things. But Umanga's gonna go down that line and then Katie's to say, well, what pushed you over the line? What made you submit your application? And the mangas would be like, I was listening to Charlotte speak, and dang, she really inspired me. And I just really wanted to know more about how this amazing clip can help someone do that. And then Katie's gonna go back and say, well, we're glad to have you. Let me set up some time with you to go get you involved, teach you the things you need to learn. But at the same time, Katie, as a club officer, will go and talk to Charlotte. And she's gonna say, hey, Charlotte, our newest member, Umanga, recently joined us. She told me that she was really inspired by you. Would it be okay if I proposed a mentorship pairing for you to mentor her and work with her to get her involved and really do that? Now, Umanga's laughing because she knows where I'm going with this. It's classic psychology. If you put someone with someone they love, they're going to do more, they're going to feel more loyal, they're going to have more emotions tied into it, and they're going to be more successful. So Charlotte, of course, being the person she is going to say, oh, hell yeah, let's do this. And she's gonna go, and Katie's gonna set up a meeting with Charlotte and Umanga. And when they talk, they're gonna talk about everything. They're gonna work out everything, and then Charlotte and Umanga are gonna work together. And then 6 months from now, whenever it's time to renew, guess what? Umanga's not gonna have any doubt to pay that money. In fact, she's gonna be waiting to pay that money because she still wants to be around Charlotte in the club, right? This is a good and like I've said this before, you don't want to build your club solely around a person. But when people join, it's normally because they feel a connection. So you do want to use that connection to be able to deepen the bonds. And then you expand it. So as Umanga's working with Charlotte, I bet Charlotte's going to introduce her to other people. Charlotte's going to have her get to know Katie, get to know Patrick, get to know Bob, right? Like she's like, have her work with different people. And Umanga's going to start. And I like spiderweb for this. I hate spiders. I'm deathly afraid of them. But a spider web is perfect for this scenario of explaining. If you just have a single string, it's very easy to snap and break, right? But the way spiders weave their webs, or orb weavers do, it's intricately laced, it's interconnected, and that's what starts to develop. The more she builds those bonds with Charlotte, Patrick, Bob, and Katie, then they introduce her to other people. And then that network and web expand. And just like spider webs, it becomes very sticky. It's like black tar. Once it gets on you, you can't get it off, right? So you want to think of it from that standpoint. You want to not only develop that string, that initial connection, you want to start working to expand that. And when you do, the only thing that could possibly take them from you is death or work. If their job changes their schedule and they need a new club, that's not something they can control. And if they die, well, they're dead. That's not something they can control. So remember that and think about that's how you deepen the bonds. And so whenever you establish something like this, and it keeps people. So let's talk about like what if, for instance, what if Patrick here visited Katie's club and Patrick just was inspired by the club. He didn't necessarily have a single specific person, but he was inspired by the club. You kind of want to take a different approach with this. And this is why it's called a mentor program and not just a mentor one-off or something like that. So you got one hand where it's like it's the new member driven and it's very based on that initial attraction. But there's the other side. And this is where, as a club officer, it's important to know your members. So every member in your club, even if they're not new, should do a member profile. Why are you here? What are you learning? What are you good at? What inspired you to join, right? What keeps you here? Because then when Katie, the club officer, is talking to Patrick, and Patrick's explaining why he joined, what he's looking for, the things like that, Katie can ask, well, was there anyone in the club that kind of drew you or you want to know more about? And Patrick may say yes and be able to give her some direction, but Katie's going to have that information as a club officer to look at the members and say, hey, who here do I think may be able to work very well with Patrick to teach him the things he wants to learn and create that connection? And so then, like Katie did before at Charlotte, Katie's gonna go talk to Bob because Bob's here, and I'm gonna totally throw Bob in the story. So Katie's gonna go talk to Bob, and she's gonna be like, "But hey, Bob, I think that Patrick would work very well with you. Would you be interested in mentoring him?" And then that same kind of connection and story goes to play. They'll connect, they'll start working on the things they work on, and it'll evolve from there. Both of these scenarios, whenever you do it when someone joins, it is going to help people want to stay. It is going to help people feel like they are a part of something. And I hate to say it, that is what the world needs right now. They need to feel connected. They need to feel like they are a part of something. That's what drives people to join things like this, aside from just the skills they want to learn. And if you're like, well, the pandemic's over, that don't really bull. This was a before the pandemic problem. This was a during the pandemic problem. It's definitely an after problem. It's I want to feel connected to people around me, and sometimes I don't know how to do that the best. Or sometimes I don't live in an area I feel like I can do that in, right? So having that ability to do that will keep them connected to you. So yeah. Now, what I'm going to discuss is what if, like when you start mentorship, is it always like that? Do you have to stay with the one person? It's like Amanga and Charlotte are working together. And Amanga's like, I really love Charlotte, and I've learned what I really wanted to learn from Charlotte. And it's okay to admit that Charlotte has many different skills, and she will not be upset if Amanga sits there and says, hey, I think I've learned what I wanted to learn out of this. I still want to be your friend, and I'm going to talk to you about everything. But I really want to learn this other thing. And I know that you had told me you didn't really know much about it. And I'm gonna call on Marty here because I know Marty a little. So all of you are part of this matrix of a story, right? And so Charlotte knows Marty, and she's like, well, I know someone who might actually be able to help you with this, Umanga. And so Umanga can go talk to Marty and then continue mentorship journeys with other people. So mentoring can evolve over time. Now let's talk about something everyone hates to talk about, conflict. Whenever you say that word, people are like, oh God, get that away from me. I don't want to argue. There are two types of conflict. There's healthy conflict that is productive and actually needed to help you grow. Sometimes you don't want to hear things that you have to hear, and whether or not you want to hear it, you need to hear it, right? And that can create some strife and a little bit of conflict at the time, but that's a productive type. But sometimes there is personality conflicts. Maybe you realize something down the line and your personalities aren't a mesh. Maybe there's a difference in communication that can't be overcame at that moment. Maybe you're uncomfortable. There's many different things, right? There's many different things that can lead to that conflict. The one thing that helps this journey is to realize that you are not contractually tied to that person. If it's not working out, it's okay to say that. And you want to communicate it. You may not be comfortable yet, and that's where Umanga, if she's not comfortable, can go talk to Katie, and Katie can help with that situation. It's okay to have a third party um help with it. Or what's best is to say, hey, whoever, I don't want to call anyone because I really don't want to say about anyone. But like, hey, Angel, I don't think our personalities mesh as much as I was hoping. I still think that you have a lot to offer, but I think that I might be better mentored by someone else. And as Angel may be butthurt, but Angel's got to get over that. But if Angel's along in her growth, she's going to understand that, yeah, that's true. Not everybody is able to mesh that well. And in order to have a successful mentorship and partnership, because remember, mentor is like dating, it's a partnership, it's a relationship you're developing. If you can't develop the relationship, you won't get anything out of it, either of you, the mentor or the mentee. And so it's okay to talk about that. It's okay to find someone that does fit you. And then I've said this once a little bit, but let's dive deeper into it. The two core things you need to have a good partnership with someone, a mentor partnership: trust and communication, and confidentiality. I would say that's confidentiality is kind of tied into both. It kind of overarches into both. But as a mentee and a mentor, you should be able to talk about things and know that either of you aren't going to go talking to everyone else, especially if it's something private. You aren't going to do anything without the other's permission, and that you can talk about anything. Unless it's like an NDA that you signed and then the other person has to sign an NDA. That's different. That's legal. But you want to develop the trust and communication and confidentiality to be able, if Umanga has a problem with Angel being her district director, that Umanga could go talk to Charla and say, hey, Charla, I'm having this struggle with Angel and I'm not sure how to get past it. How can I approach her and talk to her about it? And Charlotte's going to help her, practice a conversation or give her some tips and then help build up that confidence. And then Umanga would be able to come talk to me. Luckily, we're past that, long past that. But it happens, right? But if Charlotte and Umanga don't have the trust, the confidentiality, the ability to communicate, then they aren't going to be able to help work through that, right? So all of these things wrap up into talking about a mentorship program within your club. Because when you develop this program, you want to teach people, and this is a great project, by the way, an HPL, a speech, to give a presentation and teach your club about these skills. Teach them about the importance of trust, communication, confidentiality, and how to be a mentor. And develop that program within your club, because then what's going to happen is, and hopefully, I'm not saying it's 100% going to keep everyone, because there are people that'll just leave just because they want to, and that's fine. But what hopefully you will notice is that more people, when they join, stay. More people that join and stay will start doing the education, will start growing, will start bringing their friends, right? And your club will start growing. And then you'll notice that trend and that connection and that camaraderie within your club, and that is going to help your club strengthen. It is not the be all and fix all, because there are other issues out there for clubs. But when we are talking about solely the retention, the getting people involved, the helping them feel like part of something, this will help with that. It will help them want to do their icebreaker. It will encourage them to work on that level to maybe do a contest or maybe go become an area director, right? Depending on what they're looking for. And over time, it's going to help them in multiple ways, and it's also going to help you. They're going to bring in a new perspective. They're going to bring in different speeches. They're going to bring in new ideas that is going to expand your mindset and help you keep growing. And trust me, if like you feel like you're 80 years old and there's nothing left, I'm here to tell you that that's bull. There's always something left. You don't never give up, because when you give up, that's when you start falling apart. There was research done that said after retirement, people who remain active lived longer. And it's not activism like pure physically. People that did intellectual things, people that wrote books and talked to people, networked with their community, had a more fulfilling and longer life. So I'm definitely not gonna say Toastmasters is gonna prolong your life, but 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 it will get you involved and keep people together. And that's what we're aiming for, right? So by developing this program, figuring out what it means to you and your club, and then implementing it, that's how you can build a stronger connection within your club. And as I said earlier, and I'm going to round it about to this again, community and connection are what keep people together. Uh, Pick on one of my club's Dungeons Toast. Patrick here is going to smile at that one. But we have a whole Discord community for our club with multiple chats. And yes, that may not work for everyone. But I guarantee you, a lot of us are on there during the week talking to each other, playing games, planning things out. We've had multiple people traveling around the country, meeting up with each other because we share those things with each other and figure out, oh my God, I'm in Texas. Can I meet up with someone who lives in Texas? Or I'm going to New York. Maybe I can talk to Kelly, right? Or I'm going to LA. Let's have a group get together. Right. So we share those things and then we're able to meet up. And so whenever you create that ongoing conversation. The conversation should never end at your meeting. And I'm going to say that again. I'm going to give you a good example of this. And this is especially going to be helpful for hybrid and online clubs. The conversation should not end at the meeting. When you attend an in-person club, and I'm not going to say all of them, right? I'm going to say some. When you attend an in-person club, sometimes they will have a networking part right in the beginning, before the meeting. Or if you notice, a lot of people tend to hang around after the meetings and just talk or go get coffee or go get, a dinner together. And depending what time they meet, what's going on, if they're not in corporate and they have to go back to work. But they're going to hang out a little after. But what we're doing, what I've seen some clubs tend to do, especially online and hybrid, is they just kill the switch and then they're done until the next meeting. There's not much communication other than filling roles and here's the agenda. And then they come to the next meeting and they talk. And then they come and ask Angel and Amanga and others what's wrong with my club? Like, no one wants to do anything. No one, no one wants to take a. We're going down to 8 members now, and I'm not saying that's the root cause, but it can help it. Create an atmosphere that it's okay to talk to each other outside the meeting. Create a group chat. You can use WhatsApp, you can use a text message, you use Facebook Messenger group, you can do a whole bunch of different ways to create like the community, right? You can use Discord, for instance. But create that and say, hey, why don't everyone get on? Teach them how to mute the chat because there's some people that hate notifications. But teach them that and then have them get involved, have them interact with each other outside of the meeting. That is going to help create the community together. And then that'll just be enhanced by your mentor program. And then once you have a community, there's nothing that can hold your club back. And these are steps. These are steps that you can take, creating this mentor program, creating this, this sense of community. You can do this with 8 members and you can do this with 30. You can do this with 40, right? You could do it with 12 members, whatever, however many members you have. This is something that can be done, whatever state you're in, and it can only help you improve. It won't sit there and cause you strife. Yeah. So not I mean, what I'm gonna tell you to close this out, just figure out like go talk to your club, figure out where your club is, and figure out how you can do this. Or if you already have a mentor program and it's very successful, one thing I encourage you to do, and I think I've talked to Amanga and Charlotte about this, and Katie and others, look around at the clubs around in your area or like in your district and see which clubs are struggling. So, for instance, if you have a club that has 30 or 40 members, or even 20 or more members, because even that's pretty great right now, if you're doing well and if you have things together, look for those clubs that are struggling, that are at 8 to 12 members, or that might not even be at 8, and go and visit them and ask them if they need support. Because something that you're doing and something that you're doing right and that you may see can help them. And let me tell you, that's a great feeling whenever you go into another club and you can share those insights and help them grow, and then the next minute they're very successful. It's an amazing feeling. And then guess what? If you are ever in a situation with your club where you need a little help or an outside perspective, they're going to be the first people there to help you. So if you're doing great, go help the others. If you're not doing as well and you really don't know how to figure it out, reach out to people. Reach out to Manga, reach out to me, Katie, Charla, all of us that host these, because we may not be the best at it, but we can definitely give you an outside perspective, and we can definitely help you a bit. Or we know who can, right? So with that, I'll open the floor up for questions if anyone wants to ask questions about this. Yeah.
If you can develop trust, that person may trust you enough to tell you, I think my desires have changed. I wanted this, or I didn't have a set plan, but now my plan is thus. And so, like for me personally, I've been taught now to say my plan is to become an accredited speaker. That
Yep.
is as high in the stratosphere as you can aim. So I have been taught, reach for it, say it, claim it, go for it. But it's very embarrassing if you've never announced a goal that's so lofty like that. It's really hard to get yourself up on your soapbox and not squeak like a little mouse and say, yep, my goal is to become an
I
accredited
know.
speaker.
I
It
know from
doesn't mean
firsthand
life will.
experience.
Absolutely. And so I guess if we can recognize that, because I saw some reactions there right away. I think a lot of people have a portion of that either currently or in their background. And I think if we remember that and we just keep the trust open for people to honestly say what they honestly feel, You know, and again, you talked about confidentiality.
Yeah, it's well,
A lot of good mentors here in Toastmasters.
when I became district director, I said, let's go for #1 in the world. And people looked at me and were like, what the hell? And like,
Why would you
what
not
are you
want Smedley?
crazy? And I
Why would
said,
any
well,
club
I told
not
them, I
want
said,
Smedley?
well, this is
Pardon.
also what I tell people. I tell people that if you don't aim high, or if you don't aim for what you want to try to do, for one, you'll never know if you can actually make it. Because guess what? Someone has to do it. And as I shared the other day, the #1 district in the world right now only has a net club growth of 3 clubs. They've only added 3 on top of their base. So it's
Within
achievable, right?
reach.
It's
It's within
there.
reach. Yep.
But here's the thing at the end of the day. If people aim for #1 and they only get Smedley, which is freaking amazing, it's freaking amazing, right? Like, they're still achieving something that hasn't normally been gotten, right? And then you think about it, the next year when someone else comes in and they're like, well, I want to try now for #1. Hopefully that'll inspire them and show them that, hey, there is potential to strive for this. There is a way to get something. Because I think what happens a lot of the time is that, and I've heard it, and I'm not going to say with everyone, but I've heard this a lot. Let's set realistic goals. Let's set what we know we can achieve. And so with that, honestly, what that does is it sets your bar lower than what you could achieve potentially. But if you do that and you don't get it, it creates this mindset that, well, we tried for this year and we didn't get it. So if we're going with a realistic goal, I don't think that's a realistic goal. And then your sights constantly get lower every time. Because people learn, or people learn or get accustomed to not trying to be in a state of uncomfort. And as Bob said in the chat, if you aren't scared, then what are you in it for? And I told Katie this the other day when we had our conversation, and I've told Umaga this and others. When you step into something, there are some things that you're going to do that you feel comfortable doing. You might be an event planner and you might go into a planning conference, and that is going to be your comfort house and you are good. But you're not really going to grow from that. You're not going to learn as much as you would if you step into something that is uncomfortable, that holy crap, you don't know what the hell to do, and that everything's going wrong. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's going to challenge you. It's going to create a sense of fear in you. It's going to create that overarching need, but it's going to teach you things. It's going to help you grow, and then it's going to help you understand things better. So it's important to understand where your comfort zone is and then what's right outside of that. So I like to use a 3-zoned circle. And so if you have a piece of paper, if you have a whiteboard or whatever, you can do this on that board. But basically you draw a circle, and that circle's your comfort zone. And you can write down everything you're comfortable doing. You know how to do it, and that you could do it with your eyes closed and you don't have to think twice. Then you draw a larger circle outside of that. Not a Venn diagram. We aren't crossing over. We're doing we're doing a larger circle outside of it. And then that outside circle, that is you right outside of your comfort zone. Those are the things, like Bob said, is going to scare you, that is going to make you uncomfortable, that may make you question whether or not you want to be a human anymore. It may, there's many different things. It could make you want to quit 5 times in a year, but you're still gonna, you still push through it. But what you want to put in this circle is not only that, because it's not only things that make you afraid. It's one of two things. What are you passionate about that you maybe aren't as comfortable doing? Are there things that you want to learn or want to do that you're very afraid to do? It could be getting on the phone calling people. It could be learning how to step into a different career field. There's many different things, right? But you want to do that, or you want to do something that you're kind of good at, right? Skill sets that you're okay doing. Like they aren't your strongest, and you probably would try to turn them down if you could. But by accepting that and taking that fear, it would teach you how to do it, and it could move you into it could move into your comfort zone. And then you want to create a really large circle. Well, no, you want to create a third circle around that one. And that's the really outside your comfort zone. And that's the level 2 outside. These are things that maybe one day, right? Or, oh, not today. I don't want to do that. I'm like, never. No, I'm good. And those things are going to be maybe the things like that you can develop in your first level of outside your comfort zone and then get to the second level, right? What you want to do is you want to put those really lofty goals in there. You want to do a lot of different things, right? And so you want to put those things that would require a lot of effort in that outside circle. And the reason, like, okay, for instance, if you work in tech and you're looking into going into like psychology or something, right? Completely different skill sets unless you studied it as a bachelor. And it's completely different, right? So it's like saying that you want a complete shift. There's a lot you'd have to learn, and it's a longer process, but that you could break down into steps that could go into your first level of outside your comfort zone. And you could, learn those little pieces. So that goes in your secondary outside your comfort zone circle. And then there on that piece of paper or whiteboard, everything outside of that third circle, because I think we're 1, 2, and 3, right? 3 circles. Everything outside of that circle is oh crap, oh never will I touch that. And like for instance, in mine, I have a never will I go skydiving. And it's not because like I don't want to overcome a fear. I have a fear of like falling from heights, but I have a pacemaker too. So for me, taking a skydiving from a plane could actually kill me if my heart gives out or something. So I wouldn't want to risk that. Now, I probably would go to one of the skydiving places that shoot you in the air, That'd be okay. But I'm not jumping out in a plane. I'm good. Like the other one is like, I will never try to get over my fear of bugs. Never, especially spiders. I'm good. I have no intention of letting something crawl on me ever in my lifetime. I'm good with it. No need. So, there are some very hard lines you don't want to cross. And I'm going to tie this back into what we talked about earlier. If you can learn how to do this, if you can learn how to map out your comfort levels, you can learn how to talk, you can learn what you want, potentially. This is part of a vision mapping process. And then you'll learn how to better be able to tell your mentor or angel, manga, whoever you're working with, what you're good at, what you are not so good at and want to learn, and maybe what you're looking for next. And you can also say when things are outside of that no zone, right? That big outside area of no. Like never will I touch that with a 9-foot pole. And remember that these circles, these lines are not hard lines. I want you to think of them as your veins. So if you've done a study in biology at all, you know that the veins, even though they're technically like a structure, are porous. They allow things to transfer between your body, right? Oxygen can come out of your vein and oxygen and carbon dioxide can go in. And think of those lines like that. Things in your list can transition from one circle to another. There may be something in your nope, oh hell nah list that could become in the outer circle list later, right? Depending on how you grow, right? Maybe they come up with a medical advancement that gives me the ability not to have to worry about my heart. And maybe I decide to try to overcome my fear of skydiving. in the future, right? Um, will it probably happen? Probably not. But if there's any kind of significant change, remember that those lines are porous. You can transition things between them. And there's some things that you may feel comfortable doing now that you may not ever want to do again later, you know? Um, so, there's that many different things going on here. But when we're talking about club strength and helping clubs become stronger, I think that it's important for us to understand that what is needed, right? What is needed? On one hand, we can tell you all day, recruit members, build your PR team, you know, work on the communication, know who you are. And that's a great first step. And that's what me and Umanga and Lena have been teaching for most of the year. Build your members, get that word out, learn who you are as a club. And this is the second piece, creating the community, building the mentorship, building the relationships. Whenever you can do that, you'll have both pieces of that journey. And hopefully your club will be able to use that to become stronger. Not everything's foolproof, and I sit here today and tell everyone that as much as I can. Not everything I say will apply to everything you're doing, and not everything I say is going to be the best solution for everyone. But it should help the majority of people if you implement something like that in your club. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of successful clubs. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to help you. So if Katie, you're sitting in a club of 8 people and none of the others want to do anything because they're just done and you're the only one trying, that's where you reach out to me, reach out to Amanga. We can put you in connection with people, or we'll try to do that, right? The point is to try to get more help. You don't have to be alone. Because like I said, there are clubs out there with 40, 30, 20 members that could sit there and come and help and evaluate things and help you get stronger. And I'm going to tell you right now, the club that has the most members in District 100 is completely online. And it has like 40 something members, I believe, right now. I'm going to double check that because that's based on the last time I looked, mind you. But if I remember correctly, they have like 40 something members. Oh, right under 40. They have 39 members. They've added 15 members to date this year. And they are completely online. And it's Kepler Astrologers. It's one of our clubs that came over this year. But like I said, they know who they are. They know who their presence is. They promote it. They have an active mentoring program and they do the things they need to do. And they have a community outside the club that people talk to each other. And then, the second strongest club I think right now is La Palma, and they're in person or hybrid. So, I share these stats with you because I want everyone to understand, even if you're online, even if you're in person or hybrid, there is a way for you to become strong. There is a way for you to be successful. No matter what else you hear from everyone else, I'm going to tell you that there is a way. You just have to figure out how to make it work for you, who you are, and how to bring people through and connect them with you. So I'll put my email, and I know Amanga's put some stuff in the chat as well. But yeah, that's the second part of club build, like club strengthening. What do you mean share link?
Yes, I share the link of
Oh,
YouTube here.
okay. So whenever we record our sessions, what happens is we record them We go and splice them up, do whatever we need to do to clean them up, and then we publish them to the district YouTube channel
Yes.
publicly. And so what Umanga sent out was a
YouTube.
link to our channel. And so if you subscribe to it, or if you go and view that like in a week or two, maybe, Lena handles publishing things. It should be up there really soon. And you can also view previous sessions as well.
Yeah. I added, posted in twice or 3 times now. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Angel. Thanks for being a special guest speaker in this February 1st learning lab session. And we really appreciate have you as a District 100 District Director. Thanks again and good rest of your day, Sunday. Bye bye. See you all in next learning lab session in February 28th. If you like to join with us, please join with us. It start at 8 a.m. Sunday. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye bye.